Oh, hey there. I'm Robert Biehl, and you're about to watch an episode of my podcast, the BiehlCast, shot here at Blip Roasters. I'm going to sit down with Danny, the guy on the other side of the camera, and my good friend Kyle, and we're just going to talk about podcasting. And again, we'd love to thank Ian and Blip for letting us spend the time here for these last 3 episodes.
Hey, my name is Kyle Turnbull, and I'm a guest hosting today on the BiehlCast. I was lucky enough to meet Robert several years ago and be on this podcast a couple times already. He asked me to come in and sit in and interview both he and Danny to try to make sure that we kind of get an update on how things are going. So with that, we're here actually at the awesome Blip Roasters, which is an amazing place down here in KC, Missouri, and it's a beautiful. You always get the best venues, I've noticed.
Yeah,
How do you do that?
Here I came in and found somebody. I wasn't getting a response to an email or whatever, so I just came in and so
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean I've been fortunate to be in the slots that I've been in, but yeah, thanks for coming on and doing this. I can't decide what is more. Is it more or less rock and roll to schedule yourself as a guest on your own podcast?
I think it is more rock and roll. All right, to schedule yourself on a podcast.
Right on.
What do you think, Danny?
I think it falls in between. It's like there's a slight bit of ego-ness. There's I'm going to be my own guest, but in the same sense, it's like you got to have a little bit of an ego to start your own podcast and name it after yourself, but.
So do you think it's on brand then?
No, it's on brand.
Well, and I'm really excited about this one because we get to see Danny here. You got a camera on your. Make sure you pan that camera over to yourself there, brother.
Yeah.
Look at you, man, you handsome guy. So, Danny, is this the first time you've been in front of the camera for this podcast?
This is actually the second time that I'm on. Yeah, I have my own episode. It was one of the first ones, which one of my favorite ones. I think is the second longest one that we've done.
Oh.
Yeah, It honestly was supposed to be 2 hours, but I think we ran out of space on the SD card at a certain point, and it just
we got more up. The audio is all on Spotify, but we ran out of video on YouTube. That one was that was at Pendleton Heights, and it was at Core Coffee, and I think I'd done 2 episodes prior to that. And it was the first time we incorporated the mics. And I was so stressed out through the first 2 episodes that Danny and Malik, it was okay, we could just keep it real, and it was 2 hours.
It's a big learning curve that day.
Yeah, my son was Xander sent me a text and was something that goes hard for real or something that episode, and I
yeah, he did comment on YouTube.
I shed it. I screenshot it, sent it to Danny.
That's when you know you have arrived, is when your son comments on your YouTube clips, right? Way to go, old man.
That's exactly how.
I felt some type of way about it too. I felt some validation because I think I saw it first because it came through on the YouTube notifications and whatnot, and I was like, huh.
Yeah, no. So Danny. But I mean, really, it's the first time that Danny. I think Danny is Danny. Danny's not Danny the musician. Danny is like the dude that's doing this with me, I guess, tonight. So
no, and I think that's great. And you guys have come a long way, just not only with subject matter and how you're putting it together, but also the technology and everything else that you're doing. I mean, you got the camera on Danny over here, but what he's sitting in front of is 2 boards and a computer. I mean,
you can't see it in frame, but I got a video switcher, I got the Rodecaster, and then we're looping it all back into Opus, and then running through Opus to, even if we wanted to, we could live stream it at a certain point. I think that's kind of something we're wanting to do. So
impressive.
In the future, make sure you tune in for live stream.
Ask Danny how that setup has changed and what we've learned through that process.
Yeah, how has that changed? What have you learned through the process?
So initially, it was, I think we met up in the most non-conventional way, and we didn't even talk about price point. I think we just both were running on ideas that day. And
I was going to talk about tech, but he's going straight to the money.
Yeah. We were
remember when you were asking if I was in charge earlier?
And so in my head, I was let's try to do this the easiest way, or the way that it made the most sense. And in my head, I'm always not wanting to take a shortcut, but do it the way that it's going to make sense, but also look the best. And so in my head, that meant audio was nowhere close to what I was thinking at that point in time.
No, which actually is all I cared about, because I did not think of it in terms of video. I just wanted it to be, because the only way I consume podcasts is if I'm driving. So the audio thing was the only piece. And Danny's like, nobody's going to watch it.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Like, nobody's going to be exposed to it.
I watch it. I watch
too.
the videos. Yeah.
So he's
I
that guy.
Do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm your one.
You're showing up in our numbers.
We were going over the analytics the other day, and it was like, hey, there's like some people actually listening.
Yeah.
Or some people actually watching.
They're all white. They're all bald.
Well, so you've come a long
That's
way.
That demographic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You guys have come a long way in that. But what kind of what have been some of the challenges? If you guys have kind of grown through this, I mean, what are some of the challenges you guys have overcome?
I think with getting all of the new tech, we've learned that it comes with a whole new set of problems.
Okay.
Like at the beginning, it was how can we make it sound as beautiful as possible with what little equipment we had. Like I think the first episode we shot with you even was like a Rodecaster,
which never saw the light of day, right?
Yeah, no.
So no, that was a couple cameras and like a Tascam.
Yep.
And like I think the audio was going into your phone or something like that, because I wanted to have a vibe, like people were hanging around talking, not like all this.
Yeah, we wanted to make it feel like not a podcast, which I think in turn worked against us in the beginning. I would say.
So you sit down like a handful of guys, mostly me and two other guys are doing it out of a sense of obligation to the friendship that they have with me. And you're like,
yeah, no, I felt that guilt as well.
Like, hey guys, here's the deal. Like, we're just going to have a completely natural conversation in this empty coffee shop at 8:00 with these cameras on, and that guy climbing over the counter to like
just
not
pay no attention to him.
And
so let's talk about how
that was a process.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the technology. How is this kind of morphed, transitioned, or it's way different than those first few podcasts in what you present and how you present yourself. So tell me what changed, because I remember talking to you about this in the past. What changed, or what did you change, or what did you become purposeful about in changing the content?
It started out as me wanting to get more loans.
I remember.
That's true. Yeah.
And I wanted to get more loans without having to do all the same social media stuff that I was watching other loan officers do. And I'm just kind of like that in some ways. And so...
Well, hold on. What do you mean? Like you wanted to do it differently, or you wanted to fast track it?
Yeah.
So in my business, we're supposed to be marketing to realtors like 100% of the time, all the time. Okay. And one of the ways that we do that is by posting the hell all the time on social media, right? And once I realized that, I was like, oh, I can do that. And so the idea of the podcast came to me is realtors are supposed to be creating all this video content. All their trainers and educators and personal coaches are like video content. And nobody wants to do them, especially the ones that are doing a lot of business. They're like, I ain't got time for that. And so I thought, okay, I can put this podcast together. I can get these people together. I think I can have interesting enough conversations that aren't just like, this is what's going on in Gardner, as far as market reports. And I'm like, and I can produce this content. And I'll go into these coffee shops that I go to all the time.
I'm telling you, that initial meeting we had, the ideas were snowballing, and then once we sat down to actually shoot one, we were like, okay, wait, there's some stuff that was missing that I think we should probably go over before.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that, but once I started doing it, and really I was just fortunate because I was able to have friends like you. We did 4 episodes that Danny's the only person I know that's ever seen them, and he's been in no hurry to show them to me. So there's a handful of friends.
It.
Yeah,
there's
there's some friends of mine that they committed to a couple hours to do the deal. And we just realized this isn't working. But in terms of the content, as I started having conversations, I realized that, I had friends on that came on for me that weren't necessarily the best guests. And that's not an insult to them. They were just like, oh, I'm here because you want me to be here. And so then we started to have to kind of looking okay, so, we need to have, I got to be more selective about maybe the people that I'm asking to be on. Okay. And then I just realized, the conversation about real estate is lame. Now, the idea was that, realtors would be able to present themselves authentically. And,
sure.
and somebody might see him and be like, I like that dude.
And you still can.
But then it's that's thinking small. Because as I started like going through Kansas City and trying to arrange these things in different places, as we would have somebody cancel and maybe Danny would have to come up with a guest or somebody else to plug in a hole, I just realized there's all these fascinating conversations. And so now, you know, how it's changed, it's gone from this thing that was about me, like generating something for myself.
Sure.
And I'm still going to get something out of it. But if I'm really trying to focus on like putting the people on and allowing them to present themselves the best way possible, that's gratifying. And it sounds really kind of stilted or whatever, but like it's true.
I think it's also like providing space for conversation that normally wouldn't. Like, we're sitting down here, not even on our phones, and we probably won't be for the next however long we
however long we stretch this out.
Yeah, but like the conversation he had prior to this one was like a conversation that I think went on longer than I expected it to. You've never even met Edgar before in your life, and like you guys were actually
to the point that I called him Eduardo,
and
like a freaking idiot. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? That's sort of like, I mean, I've built this up in my head a little bit as if it's like some sort of performance, you know, and that was really gratifying to have somebody across, because I think it was a really solid conversation, and we were able to go fairly deep into some issues. But not everybody, like, it's not that people can't do that. Not everybody wants to do that, you know. Sure. And so, learning how to have those conversations with the guests, that's been a lot of fun too. So.
Okay. So we talked about where you've been, talked about where you are and what you kind of did to change to get there. Where are we going? What's next? What direction are you heading?
Yeah, you go first, I think.
I mean, next month in September, we're going to be at Kinship Cafe.
Okay.
So I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
And then I think in October, I believe we're going to be on your boat.
That's right.
That would be crazy.
So in terms of
when you
physical
mentioned
spaces,
that to me, I was like, yeah, we got to do that.
Got to be on the sailboat, right?
Yeah.
It's not just any boat; it's a sailboat.
Yeah,
it's
I think that's going to be dope. Where I want it to go, I would very much like to, finish this year out. Our goal was 24 episodes, and I think we're going to be at like 20 when tonight's done or something like that.
Yeah.
And so we're going to, so we should hit the 24 episodes. And then, we've talked about trying to get a permanent space to start going to like a weekly deal, because right now we do 3 episodes typically, because it's just a pain in the ass to like set everything up, and like we've got jobs and other things to do. But in terms of where it's going to go, I mean, what I would love for it to do is just to continue to like kind of grow a community. People, I feel like most people that come on the podcast leave feeling have had a good time, been able to present themselves authentically, something that they would want to do at some point, again. And those are just relationships, that you're building. And so, Danny, I mean,
I was going to try to kick to Danny, man. Where do you see this thing going?
I think initially whenever we first sat down, it was like it was going to turn into like a cross-country thing that you wanted to do, like a mobile thing. I'm still kind of like interested to see what that would look like. I've been watching...
That's a stark difference from what you just said. So, I like that.
But the idea there was, was at that time, I was really, as a lender, I was more diversified in terms of the markets that I work in.
Sure.
I was really focused on continuing to maintain relationships I had in like on the East Coast, like Florida, different places like that. But there's just so much to do here in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I mean, just in terms of business, like in my business, like there's a ton of opportunity, right? But these are the people that I live with. And if you're in real estate, one of the things that you do when you're in real estate is you like sort of like put yourself in a position where you're like, hey, I'm the guy for this area. Right. I know these communities, right? Here are the things you should be doing over the weekend, in Kansas City. And, I just thought, okay, I'll be that guy. But it won't just be that I'll like just post stuff. I'm going to like go out into these communities. I have flexibility in my time, my day, and I'm going to go out and like get to know these people.
Do this.
So the road trip thing, I'd love to be able to like do this whenever we do it.
Right.
But I feel like, our place is in Kansas City. Now, I'd love for it to be bigger places, but I'm talking about that natural organic growth. I'm not trying to push the limits yet.
Yeah, it's good.
I always like to think big, and I think that's just like how you guys mentioned, like as you grow older, you try to figure out how you can make an impact to yourself as opposed to like everyone.
Yeah.
But I think like anyone has the ability to grow a community past like even just your neighborhood or even past like your immediate family and whatnot. And it'd be kind of cool like to... Oh, what I was going to say was I've been watching like Limitless, which is like Chris Hemsworth's new like show that he's got going on. And he goes to like, I think the one that I saw, he was like in Hong Kong or something like that. And they talk about risk. They talk about pain and how that affects the body and just like the human psyche as a whole. But also like Zac Efron's show, and they go everywhere. And it's like, what if we did that? And it's like we went to another country even and got to like get the lay of the land, and they talk to us about their culture and how differently it is from where we come from. Or like, dude, what if you like ate a grasshopper in like Japan or something? I don't even know.
Almost certainly not going to do that. But like, no, I understand. You know what I mean? Well, so a good example of one, anything's possible.
Sure.
You know, it was when we shot at Cafe Corazon, there were a couple sort of, not necessarily obstacles I had to overcome, but like, Dulcie and I mean, she's got this amazing brand with Cafe Corazon. Oh, yeah. And so there were a couple like, kind of like, I don't know, technical things that, she and I had to kind of talk about and like work out. And what I thought was amazing was it got worked out the minute she and I were face to face. You know what I mean? Like we do so much email, so much text, and it's just like, wait, let's cut that. We're in this. We're in a community. Like I'm sitting here texting you 3 blocks away. You know what I'm saying? Like I know where you are.
Isn't it so much simpler when you can read like the human cues that we have?
Well, and Blip is another example of it. I'd made some email. These are busy, like business and local business owners. Sure. Everybody's trying to get them to spend their money with them. Like I don't even know. It's like the mail. Like, do you open your mail? It's like a nightmare. I never want to look at it. Emails like that too. And so I was just like, instead of being sort of annoyed that I'm in here like multiple times a week and these people aren't responding to me, just being like, hey, let's go find them. And I walked in here and like I had this thing put together in about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I didn't really try that hard, and I accomplished something that, I could have just walked away from. And so in terms of what it could be, like, I mean, it can be whatever the hell I want it to be. We want it, you know what I mean? Like, it's just how, like, I saw this thing today on Instagram, and it was, do you know who Steve Vai is?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know who Steve Vai is? Yeah, I mean, like, you're the first person I've asked that all day.
That actually knows.
Yeah, man, he played on that Whitesnake album, man. He was awesome. And so I was watching this interview that, like, Billy Corgan was having with him, and he was talking about playing guitar with Frank Zappa when he was a teenager. And he's like, he's just, like, playing along, and he's, like, kind of is like, wait a second, I'm a teenager, and I, like, fumble, and Frank's like, are you okay? And he's like, Frank, what am I doing here? and Zappa said something along the lines of like, listen, you got talent. People don't even recognize his talent yet. And Steve Vai said, anybody could be a genius if they just like 100% totally, completely, wholeheartedly commit to whatever their process or art is. I don't agree. I think I could be a complete idiot if I at 100% effort.
You ever met somebody that can't sing but goes ahead and gives it a shot?
Yeah, but at the same time, I've learned it in whether it's mortgages, selling cars, whatever. If you just like put your head down and at least try, you're more likely to succeed than if you just kind of neg yourself out. And podcasting, we talked about it early on. Like most people will do an episode and then just cringe and never do it again. I knew I'm built to do that. I'm built to give up in that regard. And so when we kind of committed to 24 months, that was like a big deal because I'm telling you, the first few clips, it was like I wanted to dig a hole.
Yeah, that's actually something I wanted to talk about was like, and it's something I've had to deal with just like as a multimedia person, I guess.
Guru. Like, just call yourself a guru. Multimedia guru. Yeah. Renaissance man, if you will. I will.
But it's like when your expectation of what you're wanting to create meets the capability that you have, like with technology or even just like with the stuff that you have now. Because I was a big believer in like, oh, the best camera that you could use or the best camera to start with is the one you have now, is what I was told.
Yeah.
No, it's not. But I mean, it is.
There's
it is.
Some
but
truth
yeah,
to
there's
that.
some
I get
truth
it's
to
to say
it.
just
But
get
it's
started.
like,
Just get started.
yeah. It's what the gist is. But yeah.
So that leads me kind of into my next question, and I'll preface this by saying both of you guys, and you may not realize it, but both of you guys said something about, hey, you wanted this to be bigger.
Yeah.
You both saw a vision that you thought that it could be bigger, it could be more. So what has surprised you? What has surprised you about what has happened so far? What has changed, and what kind of where it's going? What's been the biggest surprise?
How fast it's evolved from us sitting down that one morning.
Yeah.
Like, it's evolved pretty fast. Like, if you would have told me that day, like, hey, you guys are going to be in Blip and have a whole, if you wanted to, a 3-cam setup with the switchboard and go in between all 3, I probably would not have believed you. But yeah, here we are.
I would have, by the way.
You would have?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I saw you guys sit down, and then I saw your reaction. The episode that we were on that I never saw the light of day. And I was like, "Well, was the content bad?" But you guys all went, "No, it was that you just couldn't hear it right."
Yeah,
the camera was this, that, and the other, and it just wasn't enough.
I lost my shit.
Yeah,
don't you remember that? I lost my like God.
I'm trying to be a nice way.
Yeah, no, but you know what? It's hilarious, and I think it's something to be. I like. It's a little embarrassing, but it's obviously I'm talking about it because I think that that happens with people.
Sure,
you gotta make mistakes. Yeah,
Ghazi. It's so funny because the whole thing was Ghazi's idea. This whole podcast was him saying you need to do this. So he comes on that episode, right? He does it. Which I know him well enough to know that's like he'd be uncomfortable.
Yeah,
like
he's
that's
like
how
the
much
one we
he would
can't
do
get back
it
on.
for me.
That he was on.
And he's like, no, I'm not going to do it again. And that was the one that I'm like,
did he really?
He's like the one
like,
you
I'm
can't
not
get back
doing
on.
it again.
Yeah.
And so if you want to talk about long-term goals, that's a long-term goal is to get Ghazi back on and do him the justice, that he deserves. But
what surprised you? That was the original question. What surprised you about this whole experience?
I mean, I will. How much it is just like every other thing that you do in your life. Like you have if you have expectations,
okay,
like unnecessarily, or for me, how my things are in my life, right? Unnecessarily have these like ridiculous expectations, put a ridiculous like time frame on it. You know what I'm saying? A schedule to it that you don't need to put, and then being disappointed when you're not able to produce something you literally talent-wise can't produce and technologically produce.
Right.
And then being like, what the fuck's with Danny? Yeah. And then working through that and realizing, this is me. This is just it. This is like what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And so I just like anything else, I had to realize I was the problem. And then once I could recognize that, or my expectations were the problem.
Let's talk more about that.
Yeah.
So you were the problem then. So, no, I'm just kidding. So, no, I did want to go into this. So I wanted to let your listeners go deep, man. So what kind of conflicts have the two of you, working together, that's... Any two human beings or any multiple human beings that get together and put something together and do this, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be strife. There's going to be stuff. What kind of conflicts have you guys seen? But obviously you're still doing it. So what have you done to resolve it?
I think just like being able to now, I think we're a lot better about it because like we have that like weekly meeting every Tuesday where it's like we sit down and like we have a conversation about either the episodes that are coming up or the episodes that we've already had and just kind of go over hiccups and all that. And then we never, we've never really talked about, like, how we've messed up at an actual, like, recording session. Like, we hash it all out. Every Tuesday we meet up, and every Tuesday we, like, okay, we know. We're like...
cut, and we're, like, at each other's throats.
Yeah, we're like, no, you guys got to stop, actually. I told you not to say that. It's like the brawl
on the sideline. It's really awkward for the guests.
That would be hilarious, though. No, but kind of like how we said, what we just talked about, I think was the biggest one was, like, the idea of what we knew the podcast could be, meeting, like, our... the technicalities of the stuff that we had with us. Like we needed another camera is what we kind of figured out, and it was like, okay, well, once we got that like second camera, it wasn't the same as the other two, and we were running out of different things, and so it was like me having to troubleshoot while he's like having to think of how to make sure to keep the guests like engaged still, and I'm over here like trying to put out fires, and I think us being men and just me also wanting to be the person that I am, and it's like I always want to try to solve it first before I can like admittedly say like, hey, I failed, I need some help, is kind of where that conflict was, because I wasn't saying like, dude, like, you know that this is going to take however long to process, and sometimes like the footage gets corrupted, and that corrupted footage I need to salvage, and it's going to take another whatever. But I think just communicating is what's kind of put us over that.
That's a good.
Yeah.
That's a succinct way to put it, is just communicating.
Yeah.
All of a sudden things are changing. So how about you? What are you getting?
So, one of the reasons I went to Danny was because he's half my age.
I think
I was we had been connected through, I was spending time in Core Coffee. We had got connected there. That's how we met. I had seen some of his, like, the stuff that he'd done for, like, Made Mob and some other places around town. And I was like, if I'm going to do a podcast, I had just read this book about, like, using people instead of, like, getting help instead of just trying to do it on your own. And I'm like, I'm never going to do this. I'm going to get somebody, I'm going to find somebody to team up with. And I was like, the last thing I want to do is like, I think the first time I talked to you about like a podcast, you like went and like looked up what a podcast was, right? And so I didn't want that vibe. I wanted somebody. Right. I wanted
this guy, right? Am I right?
Are you trying to say Kyle was going to be the first one that you were going to have produce this?
No, he's trying to say that I wouldn't know what a podcast was.
I'm just saying.
Old man. No, it's fine.
Like,
keep going.
I have a lot of Gen X friends that don't need mortgages. All right. So that millennials, like Gen Z, like if I'm going to grow my business, I need to be in that slot. But I was like, I want to do it with somebody who's going to bring a different perspective to it. Sure. Like sincerely, like why not? And so that's how I got Danny involved. But there's also the fact that like, my son is a couple years younger than him, right? My son does not like return my calls or return my texts in a timely manner, like sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
That was a dig. Did you hear it?
No, it was a jab.
Yeah,
I felt
certainly
it.
But it's just the reality of the situation. And then like I can remember at one point like I was texting you and like, bro, don't text me. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, hit me up on Instagram, and I'm like, what the hell?
But
is
he didn't
that
call
about?
it Instagram though, did he? He called it Insta.
At the time, I didn't think I even said. I think I said IG or something.
Yeah, but like but seriously, I was like, what on earth? Why on earth am I doing that? Like, I don't understand.
Or email, I think I also said. But, like, so the gist of that is because I was running, like, 3 different Instagrams at the time. So my notifications, for my notifications on there were on, but my texts were off. And I had them off because I didn't want my ringtone to go off at a shoot or anything like that. So I told him, I was like, hey, like, if I'm not, like, answering back, like, like, hit me up on Instagram, and the notification will go through, and I will see it. But
listen, guys,
gotten better at communicating now.
Just being a casual outside observer, watching you guys from the beginning through where you're at today, 20 podcasts into it, right? I can say that it's really neat. You guys have kind of a complementary thing. Like, you're not good at the same stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
And that you need each other.
I've been trying to find like an archetype that would explain like our relationship, and like I can only think of what's that moose cartoon with the little squirrel?
Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, or like Groot and Rocket. I don't know. If you guys watch
Rocket.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now we're getting somewhere.
Literally like Groot and Rocket, because like I got all the tech stuff, and like he's just like so much taller than me. Like
he's saying that all you can do is say, "I am Groot."
I'm Groot.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I effectively just like every episode, I'm basically like, I'm Robert. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I sort of get that. I think that
I just came up with that now too. It kind of fits.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, we'll edit all this out if I don't like it anyway.
Yeah, it'll never see the light of day. It'll be the second one that I've been on that never sees the light of day.
Wouldn't it be horrible if this file's like corrupted or something, or your recorders or something?
Yeah, it's like it's
like
like a back to like what all entails. It's like a checklist that you have to go through, either in your head or like a physical checklist that we put on a dock, and it's like, okay, got to make sure that this thing is plugged in. Got to make sure there's a micro SD card in there, but not the same micro SD card that you use for the camera, and make sure that whenever you start recording that the mics are also on.
All
because
I heard
if not,
is this is not as easy as you think, and a lot more goes into it. And you guys even have a weekly meeting just to kind of discuss on what went well, what didn't, what you're going to change, and so on. It's a pretty professional way of approaching that. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think, my expectations were always they were never really aligned with like where their capabilities were at a given time.
Sure.
I mean, that's kind of a wordy way of saying.
I think that's
that.
just the struggle.
Wordy way of saying you wanted more.
Yeah. Well,
like right from the beginning, you're like,
we would do what?
They're having a time. I didn't even know there was something else going on.
Is that them?
Yeah.
Because I was like,
it's not the sound.
No,
Danny's got these
no.
special sound effects he's used that I fucking hate.
I wanted it to be like iCarly at the beginning too. So
yeah,
the sound effects were in full effect when.
Yeah, so I think there's a poetry slam going on next door.
That's cool.
And so, which again, thank you, Blip Roasters, Ian, for letting us. Ian Davis. I called him Ian Brown too. Like I missed everybody's
coffee. Oh my god,
Ian Brown was the lead singer of the Stone Roses. Sorry. Anyway, okay. So, but we would shoot episodes, and then like I wouldn't see the video for felt like 6 weeks.
Yep. Yeah.
And finally, I'm like, I'm with Jessica. I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. Blah blah. I'm gonna sit him down. So we went to Artist Mentorship one day.
Yeah.
And and I'm like, let me see your process because I'm thinking I'll figure this shit out.
Yeah, you'll fix it. You're Robert. You're Robert Beehl.
I just need to see the process.
If I can see it, I can tell you how you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, how are you presenting those numbers?
If you can just see it. Yeah,
and
I've experienced that myself, by the way, when I used to work. For Robert.
Yeah, I bet
it's not his first time. Go ahead anyway. You were telling a story.
But we got there, and he started going through the process. And 15 minutes in, I'm like, "Oh my god!"
This is
like
you actually called me. You may or may not remember that, but you actually called me and told me about this. You're like, "Man, I was really frustrated. I was real upset."
Yeah,
that makes me feel better actually. That,
but we were doing then to see what you actually had to.
He told me this already.
Yeah,
go ahead. Tell me.
I saw what you were actually doing, and it was like, oh my god,
you can't do that.
I can't believe this guy's doing that. And that's when we realized, okay, we got to do something with the other thing that's kind of interesting is how much impact from Mexico John Nelson has had by being forwarding, he'd watch something and he would forward me a link to some technology and be like, you guys need this.
This is what you got. Yeah, this is what you need.
I mean, we did it with he did
Shout
it with the
John.
mics. Yeah, absolutely, with the microphones and stuff. And it was interesting because it actually made it easier for people to relax.
Yep.
Sure.
Because you're kind of hiding behind the mic. You got the headphones on. Like when you're just sitting in an open space, talking with cameras on you.
Yeah, you don't know what it kind of sounds like. I tell you, the headphones make a big positive impact too, because it can really isolate you. We can really focus in and have this conversation in a bigger space that has more going on, as you can hear kind of in the background. It kind of makes it interesting.
So the first episode that we actually released was Rick and Suzanne.
Yeah,
and the audio was just it sucked because they came out there, they committed the time to it. I thought we had a good conversation, but you couldn't hear them. Right?
I think we spent maybe 15 minutes trying to we were like, yeah, we're ready, let's do it. Looking at all the equipment.
Yeah, we were unwrapping it from the box as we're hooking it up to get rolling. Yeah. And so then you're like, that sucks. That's kind of cringe, but we got to release something. We got to get the ball rolling at some point. And so,
when you first got these microphones.
Yeah, I just wanted to do something. Do you know what I mean? If I just can't just sit there and think about this idea. I'd rather get it out there and be like, okay, this is the baseline. This is what we're working for.
All right, so that's what you wanted to do. What did Danny want to do? Did you want to sit down and read the instruction manual, go through, do some test runs?
I did not get the vibe.
No. When we got the equipment
was he
day,
let's go?
Yeah.
Neither of us have any interest in reading the instructions.
Yeah, it was full send. I think whenever we both saw the equipment, it was like we were little kids again, and we just wanted to try it out. And I think we both had enough of an audio technical background that we were like, we can figure this out.
We
were figuring it out as we're literally recording.
My mistake was assuming that a kid 30 years younger than me had a technological head start equivalent to the head start I had on my dad, and no, you can't just, it's not, just because they're a kid doesn't mean they can do it.
Did your dad make you program the VCR?
No, I mean, my point is just because they're young, just don't make this mistake,
Yeah.
I made this mistake. I assumed because he was young, he knew what he was doing.
No, but honestly, I appreciate even you just taking the chance on me as a producer, because that is a goal of mine in the future, is to become either a director or a producer. I've learned that being a producer is wearing many hats as a whole, but I was also kind of let's do it. I think after that initial meeting, there wasn't another meeting for a while, and we just both kind of were game planning, thinking of how we can make it work. And we've scrapped like a couple of ideas. Like at a certain point, we had segments that probably also won't even, like the dinner portion and stuff like that we talked about.
Yeah.
It's a whole process. A lot of people do the opposite. Like they will game plan, they'll record. They're like, okay, that didn't work. That's never going to see the light of day, but at least we still have time before it actually releases. It depends. I think I fall in between that. I like kind of just jumping into it and learning as you go, getting the ball rolling, because I'm more of a hands-on learner anyways. But
okay.
I think maybe we need another month or so to like test a couple of things out, and maybe that episode would have seen the light of day. But I'm not too mad about where we are now either. So
I'm like, we got a goal of 24.
Yeah.
We got 12 months to do it. We got to get going. Like we got to get going
and learn along the way. And look at you now. I mean, this is night and day. It's far beyond what it started with.
It is. You know, getting comfortable, like figuring out the technology is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really learning when to try to shut up, you know? It's my entire life, people are like, oh, you're so good with people. You're a good communicator. I mean, I've had success in sales. I know.
Sure.
But to actually watch yourself back and like see exactly like it is a brutally like humbling like experience.
Oh,
I mean,
there's
been some episodes that he's sent over, and I'm like, like maybe a 30. You know, we were doing it in 2 parts for a period of time. There'd be like a 30 minutes uploaded, and it would take me 4 hours to get through it because I'd be like, stop, and I'd just have to like go someplace else because I'm just like, oh my goodness,
have a think.
You know, because this works best if I mean, now granted, I've scheduled myself as my own guest, but
well, you're in charge. I think you've been that way your whole life. But anyway, go on.
But in the episodes that are canon, those episodes, I need the less I'm in it, the better. Do you know? I mean, the beauty of it is if I can give somebody an opportunity to like present themselves the way they want to, that's like where the real value is. And it's not me like telling the same stories over and over again, which, my wife was like, that's going to be a concern. Danny's like that. He left like half of our episodes.
There was a couple of episodes,
dude, there's like half
you
of...
keep saying the same story over and over again.
Well, half of our episode with Megan, he was like, you just said all the same stuff you said in the episode with John before.
No, it didn't it was almost cookie cutter to where I was like, okay, kind of take a step back and... He figured it out, and there was a couple other things like
that's part of the first 24, right?
Yeah. So he was saying like 30, like every other word. He was like so when like you like.
He did it just a second ago,
dude.
Yeah, I think he caught himself.
I'm off myself. Like the like has improved just in general.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
But like when I'm like for me. When I'm like, the interesting thing is like I have like a half a dozen of these things that like, driving down today, I'm like, okay, you need to stop saying shit's interesting. Just talk like a normal person. There is like a sort of sales speak that happens, like in the car business.
It's hard to unplug though. Like,
yeah, like because you're like, can I ask you a question? Think about how many times in sales, like we were trained. Hey, Mr. Customer, can I ask you a question?
Can I get permission?
Right.
People don't talk like that. People just talk.
They just talk.
But I was in that culture for so long that there's a lot of sort of affectations, for a better word, that I have.
I do the same thing still, like with my friends. I'll do that. I'll say like, can I ask you something? Instead of just asking them like, hey, do you have an extra pick that I could use? Like it'll be really funny the way that they talk back to me, because they're like, yeah, of course, sir. Like, I definitely will have that to you by whenever. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I need to unplug. Like, I need to unplug for sure.
Well, there is the other thing is the conversation that you have like in real time that's not recorded just with people. The consequences aren't quite the same, right? Because they're not like saved like
that's true.
For forever. But when you were talking about like surprising, I was just thinking about some of the things that have surprised me. It surprised me how I can be really open. Like I sort of don't care. I sort of like, I'll say whatever I need to about myself. That's sort of how I teal, I suppose. But we did an episode at Cafe Corazon with Tart Party, and they talked about like their relationship. Mm-hmm. And there was this like really kind of like impactful moment where Kate started to like tear up. And I was, and there have been a couple different moments, nothing quite as impactful as that, but people have like really kind of opened up and gotten raw, and that's I mean, it's what I wanted.
Yeah.
But in some ways it's kind of surprising.
I think in the beginning we were struggling to find a brand or like a mission statement of what it should
what you were
be.
Trying to accomplish,
yeah, but like all we were trying to accomplish, and we've said this before, is like connecting with people and like making that a thing.
So, all right.
I don't know what it is about a white male of a certain age where they feel like it's got to be like stoicism and some sort of like thought leader type shit. But like I was totally overthinking all of that. I mean, that's why I like freaked out in the episode with you and Ghazi where I'm like, cut, it's like we're not going deep enough, stop. Like,
you've gotten past that like in such a good way too, because even just like as a host now, like the questions you're asking now never find themselves back to you, which is a really good
you just
thing.
But you have to I have to work at that.
Yeah. But the questions that you're asking are like super intuitive for them to be able to answer easily, as long or as short as possible. They're never like too intrusive. I remember at the beginning the only questions you were asking were kids, hobbies, and anything along the lines of sales. Like you were connecting sales with everything.
That was all sales, man.
But
here's the formula. Here's the formula to a conversation.
But now it's like so much more different. Like you're even doing research on your guest like prior to, which is like the best thing you could do, and I think that's going to set you apart 100% like going forward from this, because a lot of podcasts that are on or is that on air
They're being produced
that are being produced or whatever, they don't do that. They always find a way to have those questions circle back to themselves, but now you're not doing that.
That's a good point.
The Cafe Corazon episodes were that was a big deal for us, right? Because we got into a spot that like we knew was like going to be an interesting spot. Our technology kind of matched up with the capabilities, and so the pressure at that point I felt was all on me to produce the conversations.
Well, and I think those were in sitting back and just being the observer, right? Somebody who's just watching them. The Cafe Corazon episodes were different. You specifically tried to be different. So what did you do? Because they are different. What did you do to do that? When
you asked Tay that question about
the song, the video,
the music video, I was like, oh wow, like that. If you would have asked me that, I would have been like, oh wow, he actually took the time to go into my discography, found something that he enjoyed, and is asking me to break it down. And like you gave him the space to actually break it down. And that's the type of stuff that I think most of us enjoy to see, is like the breakdown of different.
So I don't like, you went to college. Did you go to college? You write papers and stuff. I was a history major, so I had to write these like 20-page papers a couple times a semester when I was in school. Yeah.
Okay.
But I never started working on any of them until like the night before. You know what I mean?
Totally
just cram.
Yeah. And this is before Chat GPT. Like this is like 95, 96, and so I would just like cram like crazy. All right.
Yeah.
And so I know that in my head, I'd made the stakes higher with the Cafe Corazon episode. Right. And, and Dulce is an established figure in the community in a way that like I hadn't like had somebody on yet. Right. So there's some real consequences, not just for me, but for her and her brand.
Shoot, there was consequences for me almost too, because that was like both of my worlds colliding. It's like the Latinx community in Kansas City and the coffee culture that I love so much in Kansas City. And then, like a figure like Dulcinea and another one of my clients who I should probably make sure that I make look good, because like that's gonna, affect me. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was high stakes, but the thing about it was, so I had met Tart Party at an NPR thing where they talked about like starting a podcast, and I just sort of like, I just think they're the shit. I mean, I'm so impressed by them and their podcast. And so they had a catalog, 50 something episodes, And so I was like, I'm going to like power through all of these. I didn't power through all of them. I got through like 20 consecutively, and then I picked,
That's still impressive.
But then I would pick and choose. Yeah, I would do it on the gym. And so I was like, I can research them. You know what I mean? I can find some themes. I can try to make it like interesting. They had been at an open forum for podcasters and had been asked questions and had like were questions that I'd have wondered about the process. They had really insightful answers. And so I was like just really lucky that I got them to agree to be on. So I had their stuff I can kind of research. You know, Dulcinea, like, you can look her up, right? And so I found her on some other podcasts. And so I listened to those episodes. I had a relationship with Malik. I knew Tay. I loved his music. I mean, I've listened to his music. And so, like, I could be, like, you know, working on alone, listening to Tay's music or pulling up, like, his videos or whatever. I could be, like, listening to an episode of Tart Party while I was scrolling through Dulcinea. And so I came in here that morning that we shot, and I sat right over here in the big chair, and I had note cards. And I just started pulling together all these like thoughts and things about them, and I came up with a structure for the show. Prior to that, I'm like, I'm a badass. I can wing it. Let's rock and roll. And I am not a badass. I cannot wing it, you know. And good rock and roll is the product of a lot of hard work and preparation. I just came up with that. You like that analogy?
No, that's so good.
If you wouldn't have said that, I would have been like,
I'm going to put that at it. I'm going to put that at it. That's going to be a quote.
Could be a sweater.
No, but on Friday I'll post that. Good rock and roll is a product of hard work and dedication.
That's all it takes.
But the preparation, and so then we shot that episode. Dulcinea came out with like Yerba Mate, which threw me for a loop.
Yeah,
right. Because I had a whole intro.
Somebody like have a whole
presentation. And so I told her I was like, hey, let's just start with you serving, and let's just like see where it goes. And we organically got to everything on my list. Mm-hmm. Like I think
you even said that on the podcast.
Most of it they brought up.
Right.
And so that was a really satisfying episode. You know, I knew Suzanne as well, and I'd had her on before, and I'd read that situation, and it was like, oh, it went off, you know. Malik and Tay, that was very natural, very easy, you know. But, you know, those musicians, like, for me to sit down and talk to musicians, like, it's not that I'm a good musician, but I can talk with musicians, right?
Sure.
And so that was a natural conversation. And then the Tart Party episode, I was just sort of like, I don't know. I mean, I just excited. I felt like I had like my first celebrity on, which is kind of, you know, and so, and overall, when I go back and I watch those episodes, there's some stuff about the Tart Party thing I wish I could have done different. I kept calling them guys.
Yeah.
And it was like a train wreck.
I think it's just a SoCal thing.
It was like I can't stop. Even I was like, I'm not going to, okay, I'm where, and then like I remember when they were leaving, I'm like, see you guys, and it's just like, what is my problem? So there's like little details and things like that like I wish I could undo, but overall, it went well. And then we come in tonight, and you know, Amber and Ricky have COVID. He's like an hour and a half late. The whole thing, like, we got to throw it together. I'm sweating like an idiot. Is it because it's hot, or because I'm just like, you know, irritated? Like, you know,
I had to tell him, I was like, hey, just go take a breather.
Yeah,
100% because you were irritated.
Like,
he's like,
I'm sure you were wound for sound,
dude. He was like, go. I'm
he was dripping, man.
I was dripping. I ran it out like my shirt. I was like, I think I need to go change shirts, and he's just like, take a walk, dude.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I can remember.
That's so perfect for the person to be late. Be like, bro, calm down,
dude. There was this time when I was at.
You just need to calm down. That's the only thing.
When I was at Toyota,
my man.
But
this is a car business thing, but this is what it was. So when I was at Toyota, we had like a month in that was like all screwball, like everything's falling apart. Like it's the day after, it's not closed. Accounting's calling me like every 15 minutes, yelling at me. And Randy came down one day and was like, hey, let's go take a ride. And I'm like, what? He's like, let's go take a ride. Well, like, you know, I'm actually like, I sort of become aware that like I can see stars a little bit. Like, you know, I think I was like having like a blood pressure type thing, and Randy was let's take a time out.
Yeah.
And I'd go out, get in his Avalon, and we like drive around the block and stop by a Quick Trip or whatever. But I think he probably saved me from having a stroke. I don't think I was quite at that point with this, but I was just like, nothing has happened in the way I wanted to happen.
I didn't know if that was like a Lion King moment for you and him, where he's like, Mufasa, this is yours.
This is the kingdom.
This is the kingdom.
But I do think it's helpful that like Danny may not get worked up about stuff the way I want him to.
Very chill.
But I'm also
chill.
But I'm also glad that Danny doesn't get worked up about the things I want him to.
There'd just be two of us like freaking out. But shoot, we're at about
that goes back to me saying that you guys complement each other. I'm very serious when I say that. You are all stress and high energy, and you are absolutely chill.
Are we running out of time? Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, low key. We're at like an hour.
What do you mean low key?
Well,
we are either running out of time or we are not.
That means yes. That means kinda.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, is there anything else we need to go through here?
Yeah.
I mean, that you want to talk about? I mean, I don't think we have a dead. We don't have a.
We don't have like a stop, but I do have to go pick up Leanne from the airport.
We don't have a stop. You got to pick up your girlfriend from the airport. Yeah. So I think.
So that's what happened. Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's probably. What are our closing thoughts here?
Yeah. Biggest takeaway. I've enjoyed seeing it come to life the way that we envisioned it in the beginning. And just the way that it's evolved and created so many different like relationships that if it wasn't for the podcast wouldn't have happened. Like I've always wanted to come into Blip and do some kind of creative outlet thing, but never have gotten the chance, and here we are.
We didn't mention it, but like, Will Harris at Classic Blend Cigars.
Oh, yeah.
Right. We were set up. We had an episode. We had everything ready to go. And like 48 hours prior, like they were like, you can't do it. And so I needed to come up with a place to, and Will Harris at Classic Blend Cigars, like come in on Monday and we shot it there. And so
that's awesome. Why it was super cool too. And then it turns out like he knew one of my other bosses, and I was able to like kind of connect him so that he could become a community partner for a festival that they put on. And it was like, I don't know, everything has been kind of aligning, and I enjoyed just even sitting down with the, what was his name? The librarian.
Oh, Michael Wells?
Yeah, he's super cool. Dude, I was like, dude, I would love to interview you for something else, but yeah.
Well, there are so many fascinating people in Kansas City.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, some of them have very like compelling stories. They want their story to get out. Maybe they don't necessarily want their story to get out, but if I give them an opportunity to give it, you know what I mean? They benefit from it.
Or to connect with more people, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's my expectations are for us to be the best ever.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, keeping it real.
Okay.
Keeping it real, as this one would say, low key.
Low key.
Low key.
Low key. All right, say less. All right, so
awesome.
Hey, where are we going to be next month? We're going to be at Kinship Cafe, right?
Kinship Cafe.
Yeah.
Next month on the BiehlCast.
And so if somebody wanted to follow or watch or listen to like the BiehlCast, where would they do that, Kyle?
I see what you're doing here.
Yeah,
BiehlCast is on Spotify. BiehlCast is on YouTube.
Yeah,
the YouTubers.
And
Instagram. It's Insta, I'm told. IG. I just learned. Thank you, my man over there. And that's all.